G7 ministers meeting for the fourth time since the start of war on Iran. The French finance minister says energy and finance ministers will meet central bank chiefs and the heads of major international agencies. It's a format not used in 50 years. An in-person meeting last week brought foreign ministers, that's G7 foreign ministers, together, and they put pressure on the US Secretary of State to provide more clarity on Iran and, crucially, the restoration of safe and toll-free navigation through the Strait of Hormuz. And Ross Cullen is covering the story for CNA Live from Paris. Ross, can we expect anything out of today's virtual G7 meeting?
Yeah, that's right, Wei Su. They're meeting online, meeting for about an hour so far. The energy and finance ministers of the G7 group of leading democracies, along with central bank chiefs and other heads of international agencies. Because it is such a big group, understood that we're not expecting concrete outcomes, major deals like an international oil price cap. It's more to try to take stock of the economic impact of the war and the impact on energy prices across the G7 economies as a result of the conflict, looking for ways to protect consumers, especially when it comes to the price of oil and gas.
What have G7 nations already done, and what more might they do if this, as is likely to be, this energy crunch continues?
Well, here in France, the government announced a cap on the price of petrol, on gasoline. There was a cut to the cost of gasoline and petrol in Italy as well. We know that there is a real impact on the food supply chain. That's something that they're particularly worried about, not just the G7, but also at the European Union level, with agriculture ministers meeting today, Monday, as well, because of the impact on the supply of fertilizer from the Gulf through the Strait of Hormuz to here in Europe. Will there be a delayed impact to the food sector later in the year? Something that agriculture ministers are discussing today. There have been these conversations as well about some kind of force or mission to escort ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Many of the G7 nations have been involved in those discussions. That could be a topic that comes up as well today. And of course, they will be reacting immediately in those discussions to the Truth Social post by the US president, again giving a new deadline to Iran of shortly. They have to conclude a deal. Otherwise, all of their power plants will be blown up by the United States. We had a 2-day deadline. Then there was a deadline to Friday, then a deadline to the 6th of April, now a deadline to shortly. And so the G7 ministers will be concerned if that is a real threat, or they'll be working out if it's a bluff by the United States president.
Oh, thanks. Ross Cullen, they're covering this story for CNA Live from Paris.